Hi, good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for giving me really royal this opportunity. I'm really so much exciting to work out on the Bhagavad Gita. When I just started Bhagavad Gita at the time I'm feeling good. I don't know. Just because of reason of that, this is the reason of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, this is the reason of you all. You all cherish par with me. That's why I hope both of reason I have. Okay, so thank you so much. Today's 28th day of Bhagavad Gita, verses 22nd. Let's get started. Page number 634, verses 22nd. Of the Veds, I am the Samved of the demigods. I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind, and in living beings, I am the living force, consciousness. The difference between matter and spirit is that matter has no consciousness like the living entity. Therefore, this consciousness is supreme and eternal consciousness cannot be produced by combination of matter. Verses 23rd. Of all the roots, I am Lord Shiv. Of the yaks and rakshas, I am the Lord of wealth, Kuver. Of the Vasu, I am fire, means Agni, and of mountains, I am Meru. They are 11 roots of whom Shankar, Lord Shiv, is predominant. He is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord in charge of the mode of ignorance in the universe. The leader of the yaks and rakshas is Kuver, the master treasure of the demigods, and he is a representation of the Supreme Lord. Meru is a mountain famed for its rich natural resources. Verses 24th. O priests, O Arjun, know me to be the chief Brahspati of journals. I am Kartikeya, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets and is known as the king of the heavens. The planets on which he rejoins is called Indralok. Brahspati is Indra's priest, and since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brahspati is the chief of all priests, and as Indra is the chief of all kings. Similarly, Skand and Kartikeya, the son of Parvati and Lord Shiv, is the chief of all military commanders and of all bodies of water. The ocean is the greatest. These representation of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. Verses 25th. Of the great says, I am Bhaju of vibrations. I am the transcendental Om of sacrifices. I am the chanting of the holy names, Jap, and of immovable things. I am the Himalayas. Brahm, the first living creature, the universe, created several suns for the propagation of various kinds of species. Among these suns, Raju is the most powerful says of all the transcendental vibrations. The Omkar represents Krishna of all sacrifices. The chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is the purest representation of Krishna. Sometimes animal sacrifices are recommended, but in the sacrifice of Hare Krishna, there is no question of violence. It is the simplest and the purest. Whatever is sublime in the world is the representation of Krishna. Therefore, the Himalayas, the greatest mountains in the world, also represent him. The mountain named Meru was mentioned in a previous verse, but Meru is sometimes movable, whereas the Himalayas are never movable. Thus, the Himalayas are greater than Meru. Verses 26. Of all trees, I am the banyan tree, and of the sages among the demigods, I am Narad. Of the Gandharv, I am Chitat, and among perfected beings, I am the sage of Kapila. The banyan tree is one of the highest and most beautiful trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Amongst the demigods, they also worship Narad, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus, he is the representation of Krishna as a devotee. The Gandharv planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them, the best singer is Chitrata. Amongst the perfect living entities, Kapila, the son of Devati. Devati is representative of Krishna. He is considered as an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapil became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus, there is a gulf of difference between them. Verses 27. Of horses know me to be Uchesrva produced during the churning of the ocean for nectar of lordly elephants. I am Airvata, and among men I am the monarch. The devotee demigods and the demons once took part in churning the sea. From the churning, nectar and poison were produced, and Lord Shiv drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Ukchesrva. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airvata. because these two animals were produced from nectar. They have special significance and they are representatives of creation. Amongst the human beings, the king is the representative of creation because creation is the maintainer of the universe, and the kings who are appointed on account of their godly qualification are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthira, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Ram were all highly virtuous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principle of religion, monarchy decayed and is now finally abolished. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings. Verses 28. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the surabhi of causes for procreation. I am Kandarpa, the god of love, and of serpents I am Vasuki. The thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power in Krishna lok. In the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time, and they give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in this material world, but there is mention of them in Krishna lok. The Lord keeps many such cows which are called Surabhi. It is stated that the Lord is engaged in herding the Surabhi cows. Kanda is a sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandarp is the representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna, but sex for the generation of good children is called Kandarp and represents Krishna. Verses 29th. Of the many hooded nugs, I am Ananta, and among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varun of departed ancestors. I am Aryam, and among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the lord of death. Among the many hooded Naga serpents, Ananta is the greatest, as is the demigod Varun. Among the aquatics, they both represent Krishna. There is also a planet of Pita's ancestors, presided over by Aryama, who presents Krishna. There are many living entities who give punishment to the miscreants, and among them Yama is the chief. Yama is situated in a planet near this earthly planet. After death, Those who are very sinful are taken there, and Yama arranges different kinds of punishment for them. Verses 30. Among the Ditya demons, I am the devoted Prahlad. Among Subodhas, I am time. Among beasts, I am the loin. And among birds, I am Garuda. Diti and Aditi are two sisters. The sons of Aditi are called Adityas, and the sons of Diti are called Daityas. All the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlad was born in the family of the Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. Because of his devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be a representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe, and so represents Krishna of the many animals. The lion is the most powerful and ferocious, and of the million varieties of birds. Garuda, the barrier of Lord Vishnu, is the greatest. Verses 31st. Of purifiers I am the wind, of the wilders, of weapons I am Ram, of fishes I am the shark, and of falling rivers I am the gangs. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus the shark represents Krishna. Verses 32nd. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjun. Of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Among the created manifestation, the first is the creation of the total material elements. As explained before, the cosmic manifestation is created and conducted by Mahavishnu. Garbhu, Dakashi, Vishnu, and Kishore, Dakashi, Vishnu, and then again it is annihilated by Lord Shiva. Brahm is a secondary creator. All these agents of creation, maintenance, and annihilation are incarnations of the material qualities of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, He is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creation. For advanced education, there are various kinds of books of knowledge, such as the 4 Veds. There are 6 supplements: the Vedanta Sutra, books of logic, books of religiosity, and the Purans. So altogether, there are 14 divisions of books of education. Of these, the book which presents Adhyatma Vidya, spiritual knowledge, in particular the Vedanta Sutra, represents Krishna. Among logicians, there are different kinds of argument. Supporting one's argument with evidence that also supports the opposing side is called Jalpa. Merely trying to defeat one's opponent is called Vitanda, but the actual conclusion is called Vada. This conclusive truth is a representation of Krishna Verses 33rd. Of letters and the letter A, and among compound words, I am the dual compound. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creators I am Brahma. Akara, the first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet, is the beginning of the Vedic literature. Without a kara, nothing can be sounded. Therefore, it is the beginning of sound. In Sanskrit, there are also many compound words, of which the dual word, like Ram, Krishna, is called Dvandva. In this compound, the words Ram and Krishna have the same form, and therefore the compound is called dual. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate, because time kills everything. Time is a representative Christian because in due course of time there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated. Among the living entities who are creators, Brahma, who has four heads, is a chief. Therefore, he is a representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Verses 34th. I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principles of all that is yet to be. Among women I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. As soon as a man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus, death is devouring every living entity at every moment. But the last stroke is called death itself. That death is questioned. As for fortune, as for future development, all living entities undergo 6 basic changes. They are born, they grow, they remain for some time, they reproduce, they dwindle, and finally they vanish. Of these changes, the first is deliverance from the worm, and that is Krishna. The first generation is the beginning of all future activities. The 7 opulences list fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience are considered feminine. If a person possess all of them or some of them, he becomes glorious. If a man is famous as a righteous man, that makes him glorious. Sanskrit is a perfect language and is therefore very glorious. It after studying, one can remember a subject matter. He is gifted with a good memory or smriti, and the ability not only to read many books on different subject matters, but to understand them and apply them when necessary is intelligence. Medha. Another opulence, the ability to overcome unsteadiness, is called firmness or steadfastness. Dharti. And when one is fully qualified yet is humble and gentle, and when one is able to keep his balance both in sorrow and in the ecstasy of joy, he has the opulence called patience. Verses 35th. Of the hymns in the Samved, I am the Bharat Sam, and of poetry, I am the Gayatri of months, I am Margasrisa, November and December, and of seasons, I am flower bearing spring. It has already been explained by the Lord that amongst all the Veds, He is Samved, and the Samved is rich with beautiful songs played by the various demigods. One of these songs is the Bharat Sam, which has an exquisite melody and is sung at midnight. In Sanskrit, there are definite rules that regulate poetry, rhyme, and meter are not written whimsically as in much modern poetry. Amongst the regulated poetry, the Gayatri Mantra, which is chanted by the duly qualified Brahmans, is the most prominent. The Gayatri Mantra is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam because the Gayatri Mantra is especially meant for God realization. It represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must first acquire the qualities of the perfectly situated person, the qualities of goodness according to the laws of material nature. In order to chant the Gayatri Mantra is very important in Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Brahma is its initiator, and it is passed down from him in disciplic succession. The month of November to December is considered the best of all months because in India grains are collected from the fields at this time and the people become very happy. Of course, spring is a season universally liked because it is neither too hot or nor too cold, and the flowers and trees blossom and flourish. In spring there are also many ceremonies commemorating Christians is pastimes. Therefore, this is considered to be the most joyful of all seasons, and it is the representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Verses 36. I am also the gambling of sheets and of the splendid. I am the splendor, I am victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong. There are many kinds of cheaters all over the universe. Of all cheating process, gambling stands supreme and therefore represents Krishna. As a supreme, Krishna can be more deceitful than any mere man. If Krishna chooses to deceive a person, no one can surpass him in his deceit. His greatness is not simply one-sided, it is all-sided. Among the victorious, his victory, he is the splendor of the splendid. Among the enterprising and industrious, he is the most enterprising. the most industrious among adventurers. He is the most adventurous, and among the strong, he is the strongest. When Kishan was present on earth, no one could surpass him in strength. Even in his childhood, he lifted Govardhan hill number. One can surpass him in cheating. No one can surpass him in splendor. No one can surpass him in victory. No one can surpass him in enterprises. No one can surpass him in strength. Verses 37th. Of the descendants of Vasni, I am Vasudev, and of the Pandavas, I am Arjun. Of the Seths, I am Vyas, and among great thinkers, I am Ushan. Kishan is the original supreme personality of Godhead, and Baldev is Kishan's immediate expansion. Both Lord Kishan and Baldev appeared as sons of Vasudev, as both of them may be called Vasudev. From another point of view, because Kishan never leaves Vrindavan, all the forms of Kishan that appear elsewhere are his expansion. Vasudev is Kishan's immediate expansion. So Vasudev is not different from Kishan. It is to be understood that the Vasudev referred to in this verse of Bhagavad Gita is Baldev or Balram, because he is the original source of all incarnations, and thus he is the sole source of Vasudev. The immediate expansions of the Lord are called personal expansions, and there are also expansions called separated expansions. Amongst the sons of Pandu, Arjun is famous as Dhananjay. He is the best of men and therefore represents Krishan. Among the Munis or learned men conversant in Vedic knowledge, Vyas is the greatest because he explained Vedic knowledge in many different ways for the understanding of the common mass of people. In this age of Kali, and Vyas is also known as an incarnation of Krishna, therefore Vyas also represents Krishna. Kavis are those who are capable of thinking thoroughly on any subject matter. Among the Kavis, Ushin Sukracharya was the spiritual master of the demons. He was an extremely intelligent and far-seeing politician. Thus, Sukracharya is another representative of the opulence of Krishna. Verses 38. Among all means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment, and of those who seek victory, I am morality. Of secret things, I am silence, and of the wise, I am the wisdom. There are many suppressing agents, of which the most important are those that cut down miscreants. When miscreants are punished, the agency of chastisement represents Krishna. Among those who are trying to be victorious in some field of activity, The most victorious element is morality among the confidential activities of hearing, thinking, and meditating. Silence is most important because by silence one can make progress very quickly. The wise man is he who can discriminate between matter and spirit, between God's superior and inferior natures. Such knowledge is Krishna himself. Verses 39. Furthermore, O Arjun, I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being, moving or non moving, that can exist without me. Everything has a cause, and that cause or seed of manifestation is Krishna. Without Krishna's energy, nothing can exist. Therefore, he is called omnipotent. Without his potency, neither the movable nor the immovable can exist. Whatever existence is not founded on the energy of Krishna is called Maya, that which is not. Verses 40. Almighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. As stated in the Vedic literature, although the opulences and energies of the Supreme and understood in various ways, there is no limit to such opulences. Therefore, not all the opulences and energies can be explained. Simply a few examples are being described to Arjun to pacify his inquisitiveness. Verses 41st. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creation spring from but a spark of my splendor. Any glorious or beautiful existence should be understood to be a but fragmental manifestation of Krishna's opulence, whether it be in the spiritual or material world. Anything extraordinarily opulent should be considered to represent Krishna's opulence. Verses 42nd. But what need is there, Arjun, for all this detailed knowledge with a single fragment of myself? I pervade and support this entire universe. The Supreme Lord is represented throughout the entire material universes by his entering into all things as a super soul. The Lord here tells Arjun that there is no point in understanding and how things exist in their separate opulence and grandeur. He should know that all things are existing due to Krishna's entering them as super soul. From Brahma, the most gigantic entity, on down to the smallest ant, all are existing because the Lord has entered each and is sustaining them. There is a mission that regularly propounds that worship of any demigod will lead one to the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the Supreme Goal. But worship of demigods is truly discoursed discouraged herein because even the greatest demigods like Brahma and Shiv represent only part of the opulence of the Supreme Lord. He is the origin of everyone born, and no one is greater than him. He is His no one is superior to him, and that no one is equal to him. No one is no one is superior to him, no one is equal to him. In the Padam Puran, it is said that one who considers the Supreme Lord Krishna in the same category with demigods, be they even Brahma or Shiva, becomes at once an atheist if, however, one studies the different descriptions of the opulences and expansions of Krishna's energy, then one can understand without any doubt the position of Lord Shri Krishna and can fix his mind in the worship of Krishna without deviation. The Lord is all pervading by the expansion of his partial representation, the super soul, who enters into everything that is pure. Devotees therefore concentrate their minds in Krishna consciousness in full devotional service. Therefore, they are always situated in the transcendental position. Devotional service and worship of Krishna are very clearly indicated in this chapter in verses 8 to 11. That is the way of pure devotional service. How one can attain the highest devotional perfection of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been thoroughly explained in this chapter. Srila Baldev Vidya Bhushan is great Acharya in disciplic. The succession from Krishna concludes his commentary on this chapter by saying, from Lord Krishna's potent energy, even the powerful sun gets its power, and by Krishna's partial expansions, the whole world is maintained. Therefore, Lord Shri Krishna is worshipable. Thus, and the Bhakti Vedanta purports to the 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the opulence of the Absolute. Now, chapter 11 is started. The universal form. In chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, now we will analyze universal form. Verses first. Let's get started. Arjun said, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled. This chapter reveals Krishna as the cause of all causes. He is even the cause of the Mahavishnu, from whom the material universes emanate. Krishna is not an incarnation. He is the source of all incarnation. That has been completely explained in the last chapter. Now, as far as Arjun is concerned, he says that his illusion is over. This means that Arjun no longer thinks of Krishna as a mere human being, as a friend of his, but as a source of everything. Arjun is very enlightened and is glad that he has such a great friend as Krishna. But now he is thinking that although he may accept Krishna as a source of everything, others may not. So, in order to establish Krishna's divinity, divinity, divinity for all, he is requesting Krishna in this chapter to show his universal form. Actually, when one sees the universal form of Krishna, one becomes frightened like Arjun, but Krishna is so kind that after showing it, he converts himself again into his original form. Arjun agrees to what Krishna has several times said Krishna is speaking to him just for his benefit, so Arjun acknowledges that all this is happening to him. By Krishna's grace, he is now convinced that Krishna is the cause of all causes and is present in everyone's heart as a super soul. Verses 2. O lotus-eyed one, I have heard from you in detail about the appearance and disappearance of every living entity and have realized your inexhaustible glories. Arjun addresses Lord Krishna as lotus-eyed. Krishna's eyes appear just like the petals of a lotus flower. Out of his joy, for Krishna has assured him in the previous chapter, I am the source of the appearance or disappearance of this entire material manifestation. Arjun has heard of this form, the Lord, in detail. Arjun further knows that in spite of his being the source of all appearances and disappearances, he is aloof from them. As the Lord has said in the 9th chapter, he is all pervading, yet he is not personally present everywhere. That is the inconceivable opulence of Krishna, which Arjun admits that he has truly understood. Verses 3. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. The Lord said that because he entered into the material universe by his personal representation, the cosmic manifestation has been made possible and is going on. Now, as far as Arjun is concerned, he is inspired by the statements of Krishna. But in order to convince others in the future who may think that Krishna is an ordinary person, Arjun desires to see him actually in his universal form, to see how he is acting from within the universe, although he is apart from it. Arjun's addressing the Lord as Purushottam is also significant, since the Lord is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is present within Arjun himself. Therefore, he knows the desire of Arjun and he can understand that Arjun has no special desire to see him in his universal form, and Arjun is completely satisfied to see him in his personal form of Krishna, but the Lord can understand also that Arjun wants to see the universal form to convince others. Arjun did not have any personal desire for confirmation. Krishna also understands that Arjun wants to see the universal form to eat, from to set a criterion. For in the future there would be so many impostors who would pose themselves as incarnations of God. The people therefore should be careful. One who claims to be Christian should be prepared to show his universal form to confirm his claims to the people. Verses 4. If you think that I am able to behold your cosmic form, O my Lord, O Master of all mystic power, then kindly show me that unlimited universal self. It is sad that one can neither see, hear, understand, nor perceive the Supreme Lord, Krishna by the material senses. But if one is engaged in loving transcendental service to the Lord from the beginning, then one can see the Lord by revelation. Every living entity is only a spiritual spark. Therefore, it is not possible to see or to understand the Supreme Lord. Arjun, as a devotee, does not depend on his speculative strength. Rather, he admits his limitations. As a living entity and acknowledges Krishna's inestimable position. Arjun could understand that for a living entity it is not possible to understand the unlimited infinite. If the infinite reveals himself, then it is possible to understand the nature of the infinite by the grace of the infinite. The word Yujasva is also very significant here, because the Lord has inconceivable power. If he likes, he can reveal himself by his grace, although he is unlimited. Therefore, Arjun pleads for the unconceivable grace of Krishna. He does not give Krishna orders. Krishna is not obligated to reveal himself unless one surrenders fully in Krishna consciousness and engages in devotional service. Thus, it is not possible for persons who depend on the strength of their mental speculations to see Krishna. Verses 5th. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjun, O son of Parth, see now my opulences, hundreds of thousands of varied, divine and multicolored forms. Arjun wanted to see Krishna in his universal form, which although a transcendental form is just manifested for the cosmic manifestation and is therefore subject to the temporary time of this material nature. As the material nature is manifested and non-manifested, similarly, this universal form of Krishna is manifested and non-manifested. It is not eternally situated in the spiritual sky like Krishna's other forms. As far as a devotee is concerned, he is not eager to see the universal form, But because Arjun wanted to see Krishna in this way, Krishna reveals this form, this universal form is not possible to be seen by any ordinary man. Krishna must give one the power to see it. Verses 6. O past of the Bhrats, see here the different manifestations of Adityas, Vasu, Rudra, Ashwani Kumars, and all the other demigods. Behold the many wonderful things which no one has ever seen or heard of before. Even though Arjun was a personal friend of Krishna and the most advanced of learned men, it was still not possible for him to know everything about Krishna. Here it is stated the humans have neither heard nor known of all these forms and manifestations. Now Krishna reveals these wonderful forms. Verses 7. O Arjun, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see and whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything moving and non-moving is here completely in one place. No one can see the entire universe while sitting in one place. Even the most advanced scientists cannot see what is going on in other parts of the universe, but a devotee like Arjun can see everything that exists in any part of the universe. Krishna gives him the power to see anything he wants to see, past, present, and future. Thus, by the mercy of Krishna, Arjun is able to see everything. Thank you so much. Now, have a great good day, and please just listen to this Bhagavad Gita audio clip, and please try to correct to myself my pronunciation, my wrong words, so that of course I also can be learned, and I also can be shown you that you also listening carefully, because I want to know my mistakes so that I also could polish to myself. Thank you so much, and have a great good day, lasting day. Thank you.